Did you see me on The View Tuesday afternoon? Did you see when they said, we don't believe there's a Trump mandate? I said, oh, really? Did you see former Press Secretary from the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating in the first month or so, or 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? Didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America?
Stephen A. Smith unloads on the DNC over what he calls fake outrage, delivering a fiery rant that shocks viewers and leaves the audience buzzing. With raw energy and zero hesitation, he tears into what he sees as staged anger and political theater that feels more fake than real.
And then you got folks like Candace Owens, who's a Trump supporter, along with various others with their microphones, their cameras, and their audience. If you think the liberals are overcoming, you go ahead and watch Schumer and those 21 other senators talk their drivel. J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or somebody will be the next president in 2028. You'll have nobody but yourselves to blame. That's it for this mission, this show. I ain't got time to talk to this. Stop this.
The longtime sports commentator turned political voice doesn't hold back as he goes straight after big Democratic names like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. He accuses them of stirring up panic and hysteria about Donald Trump instead of offering real leadership. We've gathered every major clip right here, so if you haven't already, hit subscribe and let's dive in.
Democrats today have gone out of their way to post messages on social media about the current Trump administration and what's happening to American lives. Problem is, they're all literally saying the same damn thing. Don't believe me? Check it out.
If I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down. They're up. Inflation is getting worse.
Inflation is getting worse.
Prices.
Cost of groceries.
Stephen A. starts by blasting Democratic senators for sounding completely out of touch with regular people. He says they repeat stiff, robotic talking points that feel copied straight from a political script instead of coming from real human emotion or urgency. He explains that their speeches sound rehearsed and lifeless, with no authenticity at all. He points out how party leaders keep recycling the same warnings about high prices, a failing economy, and Trump's tough immigration stance, yet never bring anything new or convincing to the table. At the same time, he says they dodge voters' real fears instead of giving clear and honest answers. According to Stephen A., Democrats rely way too much on scripted outrage and familiar storylines. The result, he argues, is messaging that feels forced, outdated, and disconnected. In his view, this lack of originality and emotional awareness is exactly why so many Americans are tuning out, tired of leaders who talk down to them instead of talking with them.
Why the hell would 22 Democratic senators be literally echoing the same thing and think that would resonate with the American people? All it shows is that the same fabric of our democracy is unchanging in the eyes of some of these officials, and as a result, the constituency they represent, which is why Donald Trump is in office. What, do I have to come up to Capitol Hill and give you lessons? Seriously, you don't get it? Oh, you get it. Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer, let's all get together, put this in a prompter, and all together, we'll be in separate rooms. We'll grab a microphone and say the same damn thing. And that's what's going to resonate with the American people. And then you wonder why you're no longer in power.
Stephen A. says the Democrats' current strategy is doing the one thing it absolutely shouldn't, handing momentum right back to Donald Trump. He argues this same approach helped Trump win the White House the first time. Yet, instead of learning from that mistake, party leaders seem determined to repeat it. Rather than adjusting their message or admitting voters are burned out, they double down on language that feels far removed from daily life. Stephen A. stresses that Trump succeeded because he knew how to talk to ordinary Americans. His style was simple, blunt, and emotionally charged. Whether people loved him or hated him, they always understood what he was saying. Trump spoke like a regular person, not a polished politician glued to a script. Stephen A. says that relatability helped Trump connect with voters across different income levels. By ignoring this reality, Democrats risk strengthening the same political force they claim to be fighting.
Chuck Schumer and the typical politicians, oh, inflation is high. Oh, look at them pointing the fingers at the migrants. Oh, look at them blaming immigration. They don't care about you. Oh, by the way, look, they don't care about the. Well, why would you bother people from the LGBTQ community? Would you bother folks with transgender and all of that? Why would you do that? That is what the Democrats say. That's what most politicians would say. Here's Trump. What pieces of shit. They don't give a about you. It's rigged. They've hoodwinked you all the time. They think you're a freaking joke. They give you the middle finger anytime they want to. Here's Trump. Them. They ain't worth shit.
Stephen A. argues that Donald Trump speaks from instinct, delivering his message with raw passion that truly connects with his audience. He believes it's that intensity, crowd-hyping energy, and fearless confidence that separates Trump from traditional politicians. Trump doesn't sound rehearsed or overly polished. That sense of realness, Stephen A. says, is what fuels his appeal. Trump projects strength, certainty, and belief in himself, qualities many voters find comforting during uncertain times. Even when Trump messes up or causes controversy, he rarely avoids responsibility. Instead, he faces mistakes head-on, often admitting them rather than blaming others. To his supporters, this willingness to own flaws makes him feel genuine instead of manufactured. Stephen A. believes it's this emotional connection, not policy charts or fancy language, that keeps Trump's base energized and loyal.
And do you know what his followers say? Share. That's how we want you talking to those politicians who've been stealing our money all of these years. It's not what he says. It's how he says it. He does it with vitriol and venom to show a disrespect to politicians who the public have no respect for because they feel they've been hoodwinked by those same politicians. He's using it to separate himself from the cesspool that is Capitol Hill. And how does Capitol Hill respond? By showing them they're still Capitol Hill.
Stephen A. explains exactly why Trump's supporters stay fiercely loyal, boiling it down to one blunt reason: Trump openly hates the same people they hate. He doesn't pretend to be neutral or polite, and that honesty is what his base finds refreshing. According to Stephen A., Trump speaks about political elites, powerful corporations, and media figures with clear contempt because he knows his supporters feel the same way. Many Americans, he says, see these groups as morally corrupt after years of scandals, insider deals, and hypocrisy. Trump gives voice to that anger and says out loud what his supporters already believe. Instead of defending institutions they no longer trust, he attacks them non-stop. Stephen A. argues that this shared resentment creates a strong bond between Trump and his base, built not just on politics, but on shared frustration, deep anger, and distrust of the establishment.
Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating in the first month or so, or the 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? Didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America? Didn't his popularity elevate within the black community, the Hispanic community, and the young voters?
Here, Stephen A. strongly pushes back against people who downplay or dismiss Trump's popularity, saying they are ignoring reality on purpose. He points to clear evidence showing Trump still has massive support, from huge rallies to strong polling numbers, online buzz, and excited voters. All signs point to a movement that isn't going anywhere. Stephen A. criticizes the Democratic leadership for ignoring these facts. Instead of facing uncomfortable truths, he says the DNC hides behind friendly analysts, loyal media voices, and narratives that support their view. By doing this, they replace reality with convenience. Stephen A. warns that this echo chamber is dangerous because it blinds leaders to how people actually feel. When politicians refuse to see what voters clearly see, he argues they don't weaken Trump, they strengthen him.
Didn't he win the popular vote for the first time in 20 years as a Republican nominee? Didn't he also win the electoral college vote? Isn't he in control of the White House? Don't the Republicans have the House and the Senate? All of that happened, but there's no Trump mandate. See the book? Is it book? Or is it just that Democrats are so damn lost that they're actually going to convince themselves they can do the same old and still regain power, both in the midterms and in the 2028 election?
This is the core problem, Stephen A. says. Democrats believe they can win the next election by repeating the same failed strategy. They think non-stop attacks on Trump, ignoring his accomplishments, and pretending he has no real influence will win voters over. Stephen A. calls this thinking deeply mistaken. He believes constant attacks without self-reflection only make Trump look like an outsider under attack. Instead of offering a strong alternative, the party leans on fear-based messaging and personal attacks voters have already heard countless times. Stephen A. emphasizes that many Americans care more about results, leadership, and honesty than outrage. By refusing to change, Democrats risk looking obsessed with Trump rather than focused on the country. To him, using the same strategy and expecting new results isn't planning, it's denial.
I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen. Because Trump has the power now. And he's manipulating the proceedings. And in case you didn't notice, one of his top boys, Elon Musk, Doge, owns X. Who else was at the inauguration? Jeff Bezos. Man running TikTok. And Lord knows who else.
Stephen A. points out how surprising it is that Trump gained support from unexpected groups, including people in Silicon Valley who usually avoid politics. These individuals care more about technology, innovation, and business than party labels, yet many found Trump appealing. Stephen A. says this shows the issue goes beyond ideology. It's about influence. Trump also gained support from hugely popular podcasters and online figures like Joe Rogan and Candace Owens, voices with massive audiences outside traditional media. Unlike cable news, these platforms reach millions directly, especially people skeptical of mainstream messaging. Their support pushed Trump's ideas far beyond rallies and press conferences. Stephen A. argues this mix of tech leaders, independent thinkers, and alternative media voices represents a new political battlefield Democrats continue to underestimate.
Then you got folks like Candace Owens, who's a Trump supporter, along with various others, with their microphones, their cameras, their audience. You think the liberals are overcoming them? You go ahead and watch Schumer and those 21 other senators talk their drivel. J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or somebody will be the next president in 2028. You'll have nobody but yourselves to blame. As if it is mission, it's no show. I ain't got time to talk to this about this anymore.
Stephen A. issues a clear warning. If Democrats don't change course before the next election, they risk losing not only to Trump, but to J.D. Vance or almost any Republican candidate. He says the real problem isn't who they're running against, it's their refusal to admit their own mistakes. Voter frustration is growing, and without major changes in messaging, priorities, and leadership, that frustration will keep helping Republicans. Stephen A. calls this a hard truth Democrats haven't accepted yet. Instead of asking why so many Americans feel pushed away, party leaders retreat into safe talking points and ideological comfort zones. In his view, elections aren't lost only because opponents are strong. They're lost because of internal blind spots. Until Democrats face that reality, he warns, defeat remains a serious risk.
Because now I'm about to turn my attention to the Democrats in the presidential election they lost 4 weeks ago. I mentioned it just a second ago. I'm going to mention it again. Because the news doesn't get any better in terms of how much they spent to win. The Harris campaign reportedly paid Al Sharpton's nonprofit organization $500,000 prior to the vice president's sit-down with a civil rights activist and an MSNBC host. According to records from the Federal Election Commission, the Harris-Walz campaign made two separate donations of $250,000 to Sharpton's group on September 5th and October 1st. Harris sat down with Sharpton for an MSNBC interview that aired on October 20th, nearly 3 weeks after the donations from her campaign to the National Action Network took place.
In the end, Stephen A.'s message is sharp and uncomfortable for the Democratic Party. He argues politics today isn't about rehearsed outrage, recycled slogans, or tightly controlled media stories. Voters want honesty, confidence, and leaders who speak plainly about real-life struggles. Trump's long-lasting appeal, Stephen A. says, comes from his emotional bond with supporters and his willingness to challenge institutions many Americans no longer trust. By ignoring this, Democrats risk repeating mistakes that have already cost cost them elections. Attacking opponents without offering real solutions only builds anger and strengthens the other side. Stephen A. insists the next election won't be decided by headlines or hashtags, but by leaders who truly understand how people feel. Unless Democrats confront uncomfortable truths and adapt, they may once again watch victory slip away, not because they were beaten, but because they refused to change. That wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.